This is On Focus Art Television. The workshop on sustainable futures, achieving food and nutrition security and economic growth through vegetable oils was held on 18th July. And today we are having this discussion with some delegates who arrived for this event. And this discussion will be on supporting a national program for sustainable vegetable oils in Sri Lanka. For this discussion, I have with me a panel of experts representing 3 organizations who will help us to gain insight from their vast experience. The organizations are Solidaridad, a 50-year-old Dutch entity that introduced fair trade and regenerative agriculture to the world among other sustainability certifications. The other is the Solvent Extractors Association of India, which is among the world's largest importers and processors of vegetable oils. It is a key business association that works with the Indian government's programs on vegetable oils. The third organization is the Asian Palm Oil Alliance, which is a not-for-profit alliance of palm oil consuming countries in Asia. This provides a common platform for key Asian governments, industry associations, and businesses operating in policy development, trade, import, and end-use application of palm oil. It is expected to strengthen the Asia's role in palm oil sustainability programs. Let me now introduce our first speaker, Dr. Suresh Motwani, an international expert in sustainable agriculture. He is the head of vegetable oils program in Asia for Solidaridad, currently running programs in India, Bangladesh, Nepal, and other countries covering 2 million farmers. Dr. Suresh, first I would like to ask you, now India being one of the biggest importers of edible oils and producing different varieties of oil has embarked on an oil palm mission. Will you please enlighten us as to the reason for this?
Sure. As you are aware, India, the largest importer of the oil palm and also the other edible oils. We are fulfilling our requirement around 60 to 70% from the other countries. And we also have the potential in India itself to grow the many other oils, including oil palm, soybean, mustard, groundnut, sunflower. So recently, with the leadership of our Prime Minister, Mr. Modi, we have the edible oil mission, we have the separate mission for the oil palm. We are continuously work on the different aspects of the growing our production in India itself. We are moving toward the some sort of the self-sufficiency now. It is a long way to go, but we have already initiated. Now we have the different stakeholders partner in place with the government of India, where we have the palm oil mission for the northeast India. Also, we are growing oil palm plantation in Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, southern part of India. And things are progressing. We are quite ambitious. By 2030, we will decrease our import for the edible oil, at least for the 30%. Yeah.
Okay. Now, in other countries, we see that palm is mostly grown by smallholders. But in Sri Lanka, it is by plantation companies. What are your views on this? How can we make sure that the smallholders would benefit?
So basically, the oil palm plantation is directly correlated with the livelihood of the smallholders. As an organization, Solidaridad, our aim is to be strengthen the smallholder farmers. And crop like oil palm is actually good for the smallholder farmers to continuously get the income from the same plantations. In other part of the globe, including Malaysia, Indonesia, even in the Thailand, we have the 90% of the smallholders growing oil palm. Similarly, in Indonesia also. India also has the focus on the smallholder plantations, and oil palm can be fruitful for the smallholder farmers, not only for the production side, also on the economical benefits, where we need to be promote these palm oil plantations. Sri Lanka have the ample opportunities to include the smallholders in this golden crop. It's not only connected with the self-sufficiency for the Sri Lankan oil, it also can do the well-being of the smallholder farmers within the country.
Now, there are speculations that the ban on palm oil in Sri Lanka will be lifted considering the economic benefits. What will be the way forward to address the sustainability issues?
Okay, so we are seeing the lot of the argument coming from the different stakeholders. The oil palm may not be the sustainable for the Sri Lanka, but I must say, when the government going to be remove the ban, we should have the sustainability policy in place. We, as a Solidarity, are supporting the government here to frame the sustainability framework for the oil palm plantations. And especially, we have to be announce or design or implement the special policies for the smallholder farmers. It required the initial investment. Government had to be support the smallholder farmers for the initial plantations, good seed material. The cooperation need to be enhanced with the countries like Malaysia, India, and Indonesia to support on the technological front also. So I am quite hopeful after the removing the ban. Organization like us, Solidarity, the ACA, and the APOA is quite willing to support the stakeholders here, including the smallholders.
Yeah, I'm sure Sri Lanka would need your support.
It is in the interest of the Sri Lanka. Basically, you see, Sri Lanka depend on the other countries for the requirement of the edible oil. More than 70% requirement. I see the data is around 74%, and you have the potential available in terms of the oil palm. Just to be increase the oil palm plantation for the remaining 50,000 hectare of the land, you will fulfill your all requirement for the coming years. So this can be the do the miracle for the Sri Lankan economy to save the foreign money also.
We will continue this discussion after a break. Welcome back. Dr. Suresh, the Ministry of Agriculture, Plantation Industries in Sri Lanka is in the process of formulating strategies for regenerative agriculture practices. As an organization that pioneered regenerative agriculture, how can you support and promote these efforts?
Yeah, I must say this is a key decisions government of Sri Lanka going to be taken. Regenerative farming system is the ultimate goal for the long-term sustainability of the agriculture scenario. As a Solidarity, we are working a lot since 50 years now. We are the founder of the Region Agri Standards also. We propose to be support the government of Sri Lanka to adopt the different principles under the regenerative agriculture, and we know Sri Lanka is quite interested toward the organic farming. So regenerative is something the in midway pathway for the regenerative, the organic farming and the conventional farming. So Sri Lanka have the ample opportunities here to ingredient the all component of the regenerative agriculture in the economy here. And as an organization, we can design, define, implement along with the government stakeholders here to support the smallholder farmers, the different type of practices under the regenerative systems. Also for the specific market for the produce which can be generated through the regenerative farmings. Yeah, thank you.
Dr. Suresh, now do you have any closing remarks for this discussion?
From my side, this is the suggestions. As early as government of Sri Lanka need to be remove the ban on the oil palm. Oil palm is the one of the key for the Sri Lanka to be fulfill the all requirement of the edible oil in the coming years also. This can also save the lot of the foreign currency for the Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka also has the ample opportunity for the other minor crops like soybean and mustard. It can be grow very well, and you, the Sri Lanka, depend for these all soybean oil and oil palm to the other countries. So this will be in the interest of the countries, in the interest of the smallholders, and also the interest of the industry here to fulfill this oil palm mission or fulfill the edible oil palm missions. We as an organization are willing to support the government of Sri Lanka to initiate the edible oil mission in each country. So where we can identify the certain crops, certain geographies where the all government schemes and the private sector participation could be there to enhance the production within the Sri Lanka. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Suresh Motwani. I think Sri Lanka would be needing your support in future once this ban is lifted to promote this oil palm in Sri Lanka. Thank you, Dr. Suresh.
Sure. Thank you.
And now we will be moving on to our next delegate, that is Dr. B.V. Mehta, the Executive Director of Solvent Extractors Association. He is a member of a number of Indian government committees on vegetable oils. We are continuing the discussion on supporting a national program for sustainable vegetable oils in Sri Lanka. And with me, I have a panel of experts who will share their views. And now from the Solvent Extractors Association of India, Dr. Mehta, I would like to direct my next question to you. There is currently a ban on oil palm in Sri Lanka, as you may know. What are your views on that?
See, the worldwide, if you look at, world produce about 80 million tons of palm oil of the total production of 250 million ton. The palm, there is no substitute of palm, and practically if you look at the oil palm or that program need to be supported, because in like India, Sri Lanka also heavy dependent on the import of palm oil. So why not develop the own palm oil product, oil palm here in Sri Lanka? India also today importing large quantities of palm oil and also developing the own oil palm plantations here. India is now producing about 400,000 tons of the crude palm oil, but the target is by 25-26 India would be producing about 1 million tons of crude palm oil, and by 29-30 India would be producing 2.8 million tons of palm oil, because we are heavily dependent on the import. Like Sri Lanka also depending roughly, if I understand, about 70% depend on the import. India is nearly dependent on 60%. So we have no choice but to explore all the possible sources, whether it's a oil palm, whether it's a rice bran, whether it's a other sources, that we must do it here. And I think the Sri Lankan government must support this oil palm program to reduce their dependence on the imports.
Your members are among the biggest producers and importers of vegetable oil in the world. How does SEA see investment potential from Indian business to support vegetable oil industry in Sri Lanka?
Remember, India is importing. There are large number of the players in India. We have the huge capacity of the refining and solvent extraction, but capacity utilization is hardly 40 or 50%. So for your question, how we can support the investment in oil palm? Yes, if your government is encouraging the oil palm, so definitely there are people in India who will be ready to invest in the oil palm plantation here in Sri Lanka.
And I hear that you are producing oil from rice bran. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah. See, as I understand, Sri Lanka, one of the major crop is a rice. India, what we do, India producing is about 1 million tons of rice bran oil from the rice bran. Similarly, you have great potential of producing rice bran oil here in Sri Lanka. And if somebody wants to put up the plant for recovering the rice bran oil from the rice bran, definitely my member would be happy to support them either directly or with through the JV. They would be happy to support you. It's a waste to wealth.
Yes, waste to wealth. Yes, I think Sri Lanka would need your technical support if we are embarking on producing oil from rice bran. We can get technical support.
But definitely, I think, and let me tell you, the rice bran is the best oil from health angle. If you consider health, it reduces your cholesterol, reduces your triglycerides, and it has omega 3, omega 6, and oryzanol, which no other oil has oryzanol, yeah, vitamin E. So it's one of the best health oil, and we are promoting rice bran oil as a health oil in India, and is very well accepted in India. Why not here? And in fact, let me tell you, we have the International Rice Bran Association, where I am happen to be the Secretary General of that organizations, where India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Nepal, all the rice producing countries are the member of that group. Of course, I would be happy to invite the Sri Lanka to be a part of that group of the International Rice Bran Association. And in fact, we are holding the next international conference on rice bran oil in Bangladesh during the January 2025. Yeah.
Thank you. And Dr. Mehta, any closing remarks for this discussion?
My suggestion to the Sri Lankan friends, you are gifted with the nature. Why not explore? You have a coconut, but yield is very low. Palm, what I understand, the yield is low. Focus on how to raise the yield. On the particular copra, coconut oil yield is, I was reading the paper, the yield is very low. Go with the new varieties, better variety with the high yielding, and that will change the situations here. That's copra, coconut, I would suggest, consider how to raise the productivity. And that will also help your farmers also.
Thank you, Dr. Mehta, for coming for this discussion and sharing your views and expertise on vegetable oils. Thank you very much.
Yes, my pleasure, ma'am.
Welcome back to the discussion on supporting a national program for sustainable vegetable oils in Sri Lanka. The next expert I have with me here is Mr. Atul Chaturvedi, chairman of the Asia Palm Oil Alliance. He is a key leader of the Adani Group's agro and agri-infrastructure business since the 1990s. He was also the award winner of ET and Times Group Promoting Business Leader of Asia Impactful CEO. Welcome, Dr. Chaturvedi. The first question I would like to ask you is that there is currently a ban on palm oil in Sri Lanka. What are your views on that?
First, let me clarify, I'm no doctor. I'm not a doctor, I'm just plain and simple Atul Chaturvedi. But we've been reading about the ban on the palm oil. In fact, we have also gone ahead and written to the President of Sri Lanka as the chairman of the Asian Palm Oil Alliance that this ban is actually uncalled for because it is harming small farmers, and it is probably not in the interest of Sri Lanka as well, because whether we like it or not, the fact remains that Sri Lanka is heavily dependent on imports, and no country possibly can afford to compromise its self-sufficiency to the extent of almost 70%, just like what the situation is in Sri Lanka. So we feel this ban was uncalled for and it's high time. And I would also like to put across one simple fact that it's largely the Western world which criticizes palm oil. It is not our part of the world which is bothered about palm, because we've been consuming palm for donkey's years and absolutely no problems whatsoever. But it's the Western press or Western world which keeps putting out stories, and the NGOs become very active in denigrating palm, in fact debunking. One of our jobs as the Asian Palm Oil Alliance is to debunk the stories about palm oil or the bad mouthing of palm oil in the country.
As the Asian Palm Oil Alliance president, how would you see the way forward for Asian sustainability of the vegetable oil sector?
The sustainability of the vegetable oil sector for our part of the world is very, very important. If I take the example of India, India and Sri Lanka probably are facing a similar kind of a situation. Just as Sri Lanka is dependent to the extent of about 70% for its consumption needs of edible oil, same is the case in India. India is also dependent to the extent of 60 to 65%. And we've been telling the Indian government also over the years is that you cannot afford to compromise your edible oil security to this extent. And this time it seems that the government has taken the cue, because the foreign exchange outgo in the Indian context is something closer to about 18 to 19 billion dollars, and that's a lot of money. And similar may be the case as far as Sri Lanka is concerned. Maybe the quantum may be much lower, but Sri Lanka is also importing close to about more than 200,000 tons of oil. That's what I understand. On a consumption of roughly about less than 300,000 tons if you're importing. So you need to go in for a sustainable model, and you also need to ensure that your own production is able to take care of your consumption needs. And this is where I think both India and Sri Lanka need to learn from each other.
Yes. What can Sri Lanka learn from India in terms of vegetable oil production?
I think as of today, possibly India doesn't have too much to offer to Sri Lanka, because we've also been struggling with low productivity, small land holdings. But now I think it's high time that Indian government has also woken up to the fact that they cannot continue to have low productivity and the farmers being in distress. So I think a lot of efforts are now going to go into enhancing the productivity, and India is on the verge of launching the National Mission on Oilseeds. In fact, the National Mission on Palm Oil has already been launched with something like 11,000 crore plus of funding. So India is now gearing up to at least bring a semblance of self-reliance as far as consumption is concerned. Probably my take is that Sri Lanka also needs to promote palm oil in a big way, because there is no other oil in the world which can give you 4 to 5 tons of oil per hectare. Soya oil just gives you half a ton, so it doesn't make sense in a country dependent on imports. So I think it's important that due importance is given to palm, and the bad mouthing of palm, which has been happening in the past, needs to be tackled head on.
Mr. Atul, any closing remarks?
No, I really don't have too much of closing remark, but my only request to the Sri Lankan government and the Sri Lankan president is that there's no point in keeping the ban on palm oil or palm oil plantation. The weather, as far as Sri Lanka is concerned, is absolutely conducive for palm oil cultivation or palm cultivation. So there's no reason why Indonesia, and your foreign exchange position is also not all that great. So it's important that you conserve your foreign exchange and not spend it on imports. For that, you will have to promote palm, and because there's no other oilseed which can give you as much oil as palm gives, and it will be good for the smallholder farmers as well. So palm can be the game changer as far as the Sri Lankan economy is concerned. That's what we feel.
Thank you, Mr. Atul, for having this discussion and sharing your valuable experience with us. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me on your show. Thank you.